This is the brief on Reid Hoffman's Superagency, our AI future. So this book, co-written with Greg Beato, it really dives into how AI, kind of like other big technologies from the past, can seriously boost what we humans can do, and help solve huge global problems. But, and this is key, only if we guide it with what they call a techno-humanist vision. Okay, first big idea. They're pushing for a techno-humanist compass and something called iterative deployment. Basically, it means we should actively shape AI to help us, humans, and learn as we go by actually using it. History shows new tech often expands what we can do, right? So AI access should be fair, hands-on. It's about turning all that big data into actual big knowledge so everyone can learn and create. Hoffman, who co-founded LinkedIn, calls this the bloomer view, think widespread growth, not just mining data. Second, Superagency says, hey, let's shift from always seeing tech as suspect, what they call problemism, to asking what could possibly go right. Think about AI and mental health. It could massively expand access and personalize care by crunching data from tons of therapy sessions. That tackles the really dire lack of help right now, the existential threat of the status quo. And look at platforms like YouTube or Wikipedia, private commons, they call them. They show how shared data creates huge collective value. Finally, the book talks about building trust and safety. How? Through constant testing and rules that adapt. AI development involves loads of testing, benchmarks, and real feedback, like from things like Chatbot Arena. This idea of permissionless innovation, letting people build, combined with adaptive rules, kind of like how car safety got better over time, that's absolutely crucial. Being open and trying things out lets us all learn, adjust, and kind of democratically shape where AI goes. Ultimately, Superagency suggests that this open, collaborative way with AI, it could unlock just incredible human flourishing, boosting both what individuals can do and our collective intelligence.
Factoring can meet the cash needs of manufacturers impacted by rising tariffs. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your client is a factoring fit.
Okay, let's dive into artificial intelligence today. It's definitely sparking some strong feelings, both huge excitement and, frankly, some deep concern.
It really is. And, it feels familiar. New tech always seems to bring out the skeptics.
Totally. Like the printing press spreading heresy, or the telephone killing intimacy.
Right, or cars destroying family life. And remember the 1950s, all that panic about automation and permanent unemployment.
Yeah, and look, mass unemployment didn't happen. We didn't get flying cars either, mind you.
Exactly. The wildest predictions, good or bad, they rarely pan out. And trying to just, stop technology, history shows that doesn't really work.
So true. But ChatGPT, that felt different somehow. A million users in just 5 days, then 100 million in 2 months. That speed really intensified the whole debate, didn't it?
It absolutely did. It brought AI mainstream like overnight. And right away you saw these camps forming, the gloomers worrying about surveillance, this big other idea, and losing our agency.
And the flip side.
The bloomers. They see AI more like data agriculture, a resource we can cultivate for everyone's benefit.
Which connects to this idea of a techno-humanist compass, sort of actively steering AI to boost our capabilities, not reduce them.
Precisely. Making sure people can actually get their hands on it, experiment. It also ties into OpenAI's iterative deployment idea.
You mean learning as we go?
Yeah.
Not having some grand fixed plan from day one.
Exactly. Flexibility is key. Now, this data agriculture thing is interesting. Think Google, LinkedIn. They create value by pooling data, right? It's not just taking, it's building something new.
And there's that consumer surplus concept. We value these free services way more than the ad revenue they generate.
Yeah, like one study showed Facebook users would need about $48 to give it up for a month, but Meta only makes like $3.71 per user. It shows this huge hidden value you get.
It makes sense. I mean, LinkedIn's whole initial idea was about using networks to empower people professionally, helping you find opportunities, agency again.
Right. So beyond the economics, where else can AI make a real difference? Mental health seems like a huge area.
Definitely. There's a massive shortage of professionals. Something like 129 million Americans live in areas without enough support. The human cost is enormous.
And economic cost, too, potentially trillions globally. AI could potentially help scale support, maybe make those self-help apps more engaging with conversation, like Wobot or Wysa.
There was that Coco app situation that wasn't there. Using AI assist for peer support caused a bit of an uproar.
It did initially. Lots of outrage, kind of problemist thinking maybe. But interestingly, the report said actual users didn't complain.
Mm.
And even more telling, that JAMA internal medicine study, physicians actually rated ChatGPT's advice higher than human responses for empathy and quality in nearly 80% of cases.
Wow. Higher on empathy. That's surprising. It suggests AI might fill certain gaps in unexpected ways.
It really does. And now we're seeing multimodal AI like GPT-4o.
Right, so the AI, the large language model, or LLM, isn't just text anymore. It can handle audio, images, video.
Yeah, it makes the AI feel more present, more engaged, right there on your phone. Conversations become more human-paced.
So what does that unlock? Real-time translation.
That, analyzing your golf swing from a video, maybe helping draft a custom learning plan, offering legal aid pointers for non-native speakers, assisting deaf individuals. Lots of possibilities.
The key seems to be giving it enough detail, right? Specificity matters.
Exactly. The more coordinates, context, your goals, what you like, the better it can access its sort of latent expertise and guide you, like a personal GPS for information.
Speaking of GPS, that's a good parallel for managing new tech, isn't it? Military tech released to the public despite worries.
And look at the benefits. Navigation, disaster relief, farming, far beyond just military use.
Or the automobile. Early days where incredibly dangerous fatalities tripled between 1913 and 1923.
Yeah, but through constant iteration, races pushing limits, economy runs, plus gradual regulation like licenses and better roads, it became vastly safer.
Like a 93% drop in the fatality rate since then. It shows public involvement, learning as we go, is crucial for building trust and integrating these things safely.
It does.
So, looking at all of this, the pattern seems clear. Initial fear, skepticism, but with iterative development, focusing on enhancing human agency. Technologies like the printing press, cars, GPS, they brought huge benefits.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? If we keep using that techno-humanist compass, balancing caution with, permissionless innovation, what new capabilities, what superpowers could AI unlock?
Contact Chris Lehnes of Versant Funding to learn if factoring can provide your business the cash you need to expand.
Welcome to the debate. Today, we're examining a really fundamental tension in AI development. Should we prioritize what's called permissionless innovation or lean towards a precautionary principle? Our discussion, drawing from our source material, looks into AI's pretty profound societal impact. I'll be arguing for iterative development to boost human agency.
And I'll be taking the position that the inherent risks necessitate much stricter oversight up front. It's a crucial conversation given how fast things are moving.
Exactly. So, from my perspective, history really shows us time and again that iterative deployment learning as we go is how we amplify human agency. Just think about, transformative technologies like the printing press or even automobiles. They sparked huge skepticism at first, but ultimately they empowered billions. AI, I think, offers what I'd call superagency. It gives individuals tools that multiply their capabilities far beyond what was previously possible. For instance, large language models, LLMs, they could democratize access to personalized, abundant mental health care. This shifts us away from the often quite opaque individual process of, let's say, black box psychotherapy towards something like big knowledge, where vast collective data informs scalable care options. My view emphasizes a what could possibly go right mindset, fostering active participation with continuous improvement driven by pre-robust benchmarks.
Well, I understand that, and the potential benefits you highlight are compelling, but I believe the unique scale and, frankly, the speed of AI development demand a more deliberate, more precautionary approach. History isn't just full of successes, it's also full of warnings about technology's unintended consequences and the concerns from back in the 1960s about the computerized man or issues of control. They feel more relevant than ever now. AI's black box nature, meaning its decision-making process is often opaque, hard to interpret, that alongside known issues like bias and hallucinations, presents significant risks. Shoshana Zuboff's work on surveillance capitalism, for example, really demonstrates how behavioral data can erode privacy and autonomy. This can lead towards what some call perfect control, where code is law, essentially overriding human choice.
And that, I think, necessitates a precautionary principle for such powerful, rapidly evolving systems. We see hints of this already in regulations around facial recognition or data protection like GDPR.
Okay, but how do you reconcile this vision of expanding agency with those concerns about perfect control and code acting as law? Because I'm not entirely convinced that perfect control accurately describes what's actually happening on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Iterative deployment, especially within what we might call private commons, platforms like Google or LinkedIn, where users collaboratively build and benefit from shared digital spaces, even if they're commercially owned, that actually empowers users. These platforms thrive precisely because they provide immense consumer surplus. Think about the value we all get from digital photography now, or online maps. Users actively participate, they shape their digital identities, and they make the system better for everyone involved. To me, this isn't diminishing agency, it's expanding individual choice and opportunity, allowing people to sort of plot their own paths.
Yeah, but while I understand the appeal of these private commons, I find it hard to argue that genuine choice truly exists. When AI systems operating through this idea of code as law can exert such profound influence. Lawrence Lessig highlighted this years ago. Code can regulate behavior in ways traditional law simply cannot, often without explicit consent. It creates what some call uncontracts, these implicit agreements where our digital actions are governed by code we haven't formally, agreed to. These are autonomous decisions being made by the AI, and I think they do diminish human agency, replacing individual leeway with algorithmic enforcement. It leaves users with very little recourse often.
Right, okay, so this brings us to the core of risk management then. You're pointing to unprecedented risks while I'm arguing for learning as we go. How do I see this balance? Well, I think dismissing iterative development using terms like problemism or demanding absolutely risk-free systems is just unrealistic. Consider automobility, cars. Their safety improved dramatically over decades, didn't it? Through adaptive regulation and innovation, learning from real-world usage. Similar to how early auto races actually drove engineering improvements, AI development uses comprehensive testing, continuous benchmarks, like those for identifying toxicity in language models, to systematically reduce errors. This learning-as-we-go approach, it's how genuine progress is made, balancing innovation with evolving safety standards.
Okay, I agree that historical progress in safety, like with cars, is a powerful precedent for iterative improvement. I see that. However, the current pace of AI development, it feels more like an arms race to me. The desire for rapid development often seems to outstrip our actual understanding of its long-term impacts. And benchmarks, while useful, don't guarantee true understanding or prevent that black box phenomenon we talked about. The precautionary principle becomes critical, I believe, for systems this powerful, this rapidly evolving, where the potential harms are significant and, frankly, global. We have this growing capacity to generate data, sure, but that doesn't inherently negate the need for a more cautious stance when we're confronting potentially fundamental societal shifts driven by AI.
Mm-hmm. So we've really explored this core tension today, leveraging AI's transformative potential versus safeguarding against its inherent risks. I've highlighted AI's capacity for human empowerment through iterative development, creating potentially vast societal benefits.
And I've underscored the historical warnings and the very modern threats to autonomy, emphasizing the need for robust oversight and, yes, a precautionary principle, especially in the face of AI's potential for perfect control.
Right. Which leaves us all, I suppose, to consider whether flexible, iterative development can adequately address the challenges ahead, or if a more deliberate, perhaps preventative regulatory framework is necessary for these incredibly powerful systems.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today, we're diving into artificial intelligence, a topic that, well, sparks a lot of hope, but also some real apprehension. It's interesting, if you look back through history, major new technologies, think the printing press or even the car, they always cause these initial panics, fears about society collapsing, jobs disappearing, but we somehow managed to navigate that. And today our focus is Reid Hoffman and Greg Biddow's book, Superagency, Our AI Future. The core idea isn't about stopping AI, but actually, steering it towards a future where it really boosts human agency. And this is really a critical conversation for you, the listener, whether you're deep in the AI field or just sort of curious about how all this stuff is going to change, well, everything. Our lives, our choices. The big question is, are we looking at dehumanization or maybe unprecedented empowerment?
Yeah, that tension is definitely there. It always is with big shifts. And the book really stresses that our sense of urgency has to match AI speed. If we want human agency to be the priority, we need to be involved. Like actively shaping how these tools get built and used. It means getting AI into the hands of millions, letting people experiment, figure it out on their own terms. Broad access is key.
Okay, so let's dig into that first point, this sudden explosion of AI and the challenges that come with it. I mean, ChatGPT just landed, right? Bam. 1 million users, 5 days. Then 100 million in 2 months. Zero marketing spend. That apparently caused a real code red moment over at Google. And the chatbot itself, it was, well, impressively smart, versatile, felt pretty human, even with those weird hallucinations it sometimes has.
That speed was just, staggering. And it makes you wonder what's actually going on inside. These large language models, LLMs, they basically learn by chewing through unbelievable amounts of text. We're talking hundreds of billions of words or tokens. Tokens are just bits of text, words, or parts of words, and the AI finds statistical links, correlations between them, using billions of internal dials parameters within these neural networks. It figures out what word is most likely to come next, but it's often a black box. The network finds patterns, really complex ones, that even the creators don't fully understand how it got there.
Right, and that black box has downsides. These things don't have common sense, they haven't lived, so they hallucinate or reflect biases from the data they learn from, like sexism or racism.
Yeah.
Sometimes they even mess up simple riddles, which is why some skeptics are like, see, it'll never reach real artificial general intelligence, AGI, because of these basic flaws.
Exactly, and this ties into what the authors call problemism. It's this default human reaction to new tech. Jump straight to what could go wrong, forget the possibilities. Now that's useful, right, for spotting risks, for accountability, but only focusing on problems, it can kind of blind us, stops us from imagining and then building the better future we could have.
That's a really interesting way to frame it, and it leads nicely into the next big topic, AI for well-being, specifically mental health. This is definitely an area where you see a lot of that problemism. I mean, first, just look at the scale of the problem. There just aren't enough mental health professionals. Millions don't get treatment. Wait times are crazy, like 3 to 6 months sometimes. And the economic impact, huge. Projected $6 trillion by 2030. The old ways of doing therapy, they just don't scale up.
And this is where AI could be, well, genuinely transformative, bringing, as the book says, big knowledge to the black box of psychotherapy. There was this fascinating study, listensn.io and Talkspace. They looked at 160,000 text therapy sessions, and they found something really surprising. Therapists who spent more time just giving information, well, their patients actually had poorer outcomes.
Wow, really? That's completely the opposite of what you'd expect.
Totally counterintuitive, but it shows how AI can find these non-obvious patterns in the data, things that challenge our basic assumptions about what actually works in therapy. It could sort of redefine effectiveness.
But then you have the public reaction. Remember that Coco app thing? They used GPT-3 for pure mental health messages. No users complained. They had disclaimers, but there was this huge backlash on X.com. It really shows that disconnect, doesn't it? Between the potential benefits, especially in sensitive areas, and how people perceive it, often through that problemism ends.
It's amazing how quickly things polarize, especially when you put it next to another study, this one in JAMA Internal Medicine. They had doctors rate ChatGPT's answers to medical questions from Reddit. And get this, the doctors preferred ChatGPT's answers over human doctors' answers almost 79% of the time, for quality and for empathy.
Empathy. From an AI, that really challenges the idea that machines can't be, caring or helpful in that way.
It does. So if you step back, what could this mean for mental health care? The book paints this picture of abundant, affordable, really personalized support. Imagine a therapy mix, custom approaches for you. Instant access, maybe just for 2 minutes, maybe 2 hours. AI helpers assisting human therapists so they can reach way more people. And it pushes back on this fear of over-reliance. I mean, we rely on eyeglasses, right? Or pacemakers, are those bad? Maybe we should think about AI as just another tool shifting us towards proactive well-being, not just crisis response.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The next theme is this triumph of the private commons and data's true value. This tackles those critiques, like Shoshana Zuboff's age of surveillance capitalism. The idea that Google is big other, just extracting our behavioral surplus.
Right, the surveillance narrative. But the book argues, well, hang on, big tech creates enormous value for users too. Think about it. Gmail, Google Maps, Street View, they all came after Google figured out its ad business. So it's not just extraction, it's more of a two-way street. And they talk about consumer surplus, basically, how much value people feel they get. Studies show people would pay thousands a year not to lose free search engines like over $17,000 median, or email over $8,000. That's way, way more than the companies actually make from ads per user. It suggests users feel they're getting a pretty good deal value-wise.
That's a huge difference. And it changes how you think about shared resources online. It's not like a shared pasture, the tragedy of the commons, where more sheep ruin it for everyone. With digital stuff like Waze or Wikipedia, data is non-rivalrous. More users actually make it better, more valuable.
Exactly. And this private commons has been amazing for democratizing knowledge, creativity, YouTube, for instance. It's this massive library of practical skills. You can learn anything from fixing a faucet to, I don't know, astrophysics. The book calls it algorithmic springboarding. Instead of just getting stuck in echo chambers, these platforms can actually lead you down these paths of productive learning.
But that brings up the big elephant in the room, especially now, copyright. AI models learn from vast amounts of data, including copyright stuff. We're seeing lawsuits, right? New York Times, Getty Images.
Absolutely. It's a huge ongoing issue. The book acknowledges that we desperately need novel solutions for licensing this stuff at massive scale. It's something that's fair to creators, fair to developers, and good for the public. It's a tough balancing act.
Okay, let's look towards navigating the future. This idea of code as law and iterative deployment. Can you unpack that code as law concept from Lawrence Lessig?
Yeah, it's a powerful idea. Basically, the architecture of digital systems itself acts like law. It shapes what you can and can't do. Lessig argued this years ago. The book uses this thought experiment. Imagine an AI in your Chevy Equinox. They call it Navatar. It has a system, Daddy's driver alcohol detection system for safety. It passively checks your blood alcohol level. If you're over the limit, the car just won't start. That's perfect control via technology, which obviously raises questions about autonomy. And this isn't sci-fi. These systems are being developed, might even be mandated soon.
Wow, that's direct enforcement. But code can also be helpful when we agree to it, right? Like smart contracts on blockchains.
Precisely. Smart contracts can adapt automatically. Imagine crop insurance where the premium changes in real time based on weather data feeds. That offers a kind of flexibility you don't get with static human-written laws, though it does bring up new questions about judgment when things aren't black and white. Code isn't great at gray areas.
So are there lessons from history here? How we've dealt with disruptive tech before?
Oh, definitely. The book draws a really strong parallel with the automobile. Early cars. Incredibly dangerous. The Model T death rate actually tripled in its first decade, but because of permissionless innovation, people could just buy and drive them, and iterative deployment, learning and improving as we went. Society adapted. We got driver's licenses, road standards, safety features, regulation followed use based on evidence, and cars went from being a deadly luxury to a superpower for individuals. And much, much safer, like a 93% drop in the death rate per mile driven since the 1920s.
That's an incredible transformation. And it really contrasts with the Luddite fallacy. What's that about?
The Luddites in 19th century England. The story is often simplified, but basically policies aimed at protecting old craft jobs and slowing down industrial machines, they backfired. It led to economic stagnation, talented people left a brain drain, and England fell behind other countries that were embracing the new tech. It's a warning, really, about the dangers of trying to outlaw the future just because it's scary.
And GPS is another good example, right? Military tech that became civilian.
Exactly. Developed by the U.S. military, initially they deliberately degraded the signal for civilians' selective availability for security reasons. But when they finally turned that off in 2000, partly due to falling receiver costs and an FCC rule for 911 calls, it just exploded. All these amazing uses nobody predicted. Precision farming, better search and rescue. It expanded our world, didn't shrink it. That public-private shift was crucial.
Okay, so let's tie this back to AI as an informational GPS. I like that analogy. LLMs as these incredibly flexible maps for the world of information, helping you get where you need to go. intellectually speaking.
Yeah, they're systems for analyzing, synthesizing, mapping language. And the key is how this democratizes expertise. Suddenly, people without traditional training or resources can create really sophisticated stuff. Think about a student from a low-income background getting help crafting a killer college essay, or someone who doesn't speak English well using their phone camera to instantly understand a legal notice, or real-time smart transcriptions for someone who's deaf. It closes huge gaps.
And now we have multimodal AI, like GPT-4o, handling text, audio, images, video, all at once.
Right, which makes conversations feel much more natural, almost real time. Your phone basically becomes this Android assistant. It can look at your golf swing and give tips, translate a movie as you watch it. AI is weaving itself into the fabric of daily life.
And the key, the book stresses, is specificity.
Mhm.
Your agency gets amplified the better you get at prompting the AI. You unlock its latent expertise.
It's like asking it to explain relativity to a 6-year-old who loves fire engines versus just explain it to a 6-year-old. Giving it those coordinates, your goal, context, the persona you want it to adopt, your learning style, that's how you get truly personalized, powerful results.
So, pulling back to the bigger picture, the collective future, we're hearing about sovereign AI. People like NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, are pushing this idea.
Yeah, the idea that nations need to control their own intelligence production, their data, their culture, their common sense needs to be embedded in their AI systems. For economic reasons, for national security, it's kind of like the thinking behind the Chip and Des Act for semiconductors, securing your own foundations.
And what about government itself? AI could totally reinvent public services, couldn't it? It's kind of wild that people often trust Amazon or Google more than government agencies.
It is. So imagine an IRS Prime, faster refunds, smoother interactions, or a simple unified digital ID like a fast pass for government services. South Korea is aiming for something like this, merging 1,500 services into one AI portal that proactively tells you what benefits you qualify for.
That connects to this really interesting point about public participation. Going back to Orwell's 1984, that two-way telescreen, what if, instead of just eavesdropping, the government used tech to genuinely listen?
Right. If these devices we all carry and the data they generate could enable participation, there are tools emerging, like Ramesh, which the UN uses in conflict zones, or Polis, used in Taiwan for city planning. These platforms help large groups find consensus, propose ideas, vote on policies. It's a way to move beyond just shouting on social media and actually contribute to decision-making.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the core message from Superagency seems to be that technology, particularly AI, isn't inherently bad. It's a tool, a time-tested key to human flourishing, as they put it.
Exactly. It expands what we can do, makes knowledge more accessible, and holds the potential for this huge boost in both individual and collective agency. That's the superagency idea, not just your new powers, but the ripple effect when millions gain them too.
I mean, we're definitely in a strange, uncertain time. The future feels pretty unmapped or maybe unfathomable, like the world before Copernicus, as the book suggests. We can't know exactly where it leads.
But progress, the authors argue, doesn't come from perfect plans. It comes from trying things, learning, adapting, improving. It needs that experimental spirit and maybe a bit of optimism focusing on steering towards the best outcomes we can imagine.
So here's that final thought for you, the listener. Think about smartphones. If we'd only focused on what could possibly go wrong, distraction, tracking, corporate control, would we have embraced them? Probably not. But through iterative deployment, curiosity, problem solving, billions now find them essential. They've enriched lives in countless ways. So what if we applied that mindset to AI? Could you navigate the risks and turn them into these unprecedented chances for more human agency, maybe a more dignified, humane future? Lots to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Factoring can meet the cash needs of manufacturers impacted by rising tariffs. Contact Chris at Versant Funding to learn if your client is a factoring fit.
You know, it feels like every single headline these days is about AI. It's either like going to save us all
Or enslave us. Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Exactly. But what's the real story here behind this, truly transformative technology? And maybe more importantly, how does it actually shape our ability, our agency to choose and influence our own lives?
That's really the heart of it, isn't it? We need to get past the hype, past the fear. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're looking at some really thought-provoking excerpts from Reid Hoffman's book, Superagency.
Reid Hoffman, co-founder of LinkedIn, early OpenAI investor.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty unique perspective.
He does. And this isn't just abstract theorizing.
No. definitely not. It's full of historical parallels, actual examples.
And a strong case for how we can be proactive, how we can navigate this AI future instead of just reacting to it.
So our mission today, for you listening, is really to cut through all that noise. You know, the crazy hype on one side, the doom and gloom on the other.
And pull out the key insights, what Hoffman calls this Techno-Humanist compass.
Yeah, I like that term. A compass to help understand how AI could actually amplify our human agency.
Rather than diminish it, it's about actively steering towards a better future, not just, hitting the brakes out of fear.
Okay. So we'll look at past tech revolutions, maybe find some clues there.
Definitely. And uncover some surprising things about data, about trust. Really equip you with that compass.
All right, let's get into it. Let's unpack this. Hashtag the core of the deep dive. So thinking about the last couple of years, it really has felt like a tech roller coaster, hasn't it? Especially with AI.
Absolutely. You had ChatGPT just explode onto the scene. What was it, 1 million users in 5 days?
5 days,
Yeah.
and then 100 million in like 2 months. Just incredible speed.
Astonishing adoption. But then, almost in the same breath, you're hearing about massive layoffs, Meta, Amazon.
And the whole FTX meltdown, which wasn't AI, but added to the turbulence.
Right. So around 2023, 2024, there was all this talk about AI hype, maybe heading for that trough of disillusionment.
That cycle we always see with new tech.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a key point Hoffman makes. This buzz, then the skepticism, even the fear. It's not new at all.
It's happened before.
Oh, absolutely. Think way back. 15th century, the printing press. People genuinely feared it.
Feared it? Why?
Well, they worried it would spread heresy, misinformation, basically undermine the church, undermine scholars. Sound familiar?
A little bit, yeah. And it didn't stop there, did it?
Not at all. The telephone? Critics worried it would kill face-to-face intimacy, make friends too transparent. Can you imagine?
Too transparent. And the automobile.
Oh, the automobile. Early 20th century accused of destroying family life, leading to divorce.
Because men love their Model Ts too much. Seriously.
Apparently. It sounds funny now, but those anxieties were real.
Okay, fast forward a bit. The 1950s.
Automation fears. Time magazine reporting that labor experts feared permanent mass unemployment. That prediction notably didn't quite pan out.
Right.
Then the 60s, mainframe computers. That sparked real doom casting.
Mhm.
Orwellian nightmares like in Vance Packard's The Naked Society.
What did that imagine?
Oh, banks of giant memory machines tracking your every move. Again, echoes of today's privacy concerns.
Okay, so history shows trying to just stop these things.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work.
Pretty much ineffective, yeah. So Hoffman's point is, instead of trying to prohibit the future we don't want,
We need to actively steer towards the one we do want.
precisely, and that's where his techno-humanist compass comes in.
Explain that a bit more. It's not just a catchphrase.
No, it's a framework. It means deliberately choosing and building technologies that, broadly speaking, augment and amplify human agency, both individual and collective agency.
So prioritizing access, letting people experiment.
Exactly. Hands-on equitable access for billions. Letting them figure out how to use these tools, learn from them on their own terms. Making sure AI gives you, the user, more power, more choice, not less.
That compass idea feels really important, especially for avoiding what Hoffman calls the problemist trap.
Right, the problemist trap. Can you explain that a bit?
Yeah, it's basically the default mindset of, well, he calls them gloomers. People who see technology as inherently suspicious, maybe even anti-human.
So they only focus on what could go wrong.
Exactly. They look at a new invention and immediately list all the potential downsides without really considering what might actually go right.
That's a perfect lead-in to the mental health care example. It's a really compelling case study.
The need is just massive, isn't it?
Huge. Mental health disorders have a staggering global impact, and there's this chronic shortage of professionals. You mentioned 129 million Americans in shortage areas.
Yeah, and wait times stretching months, like 3 to 6 months sometimes.
And even the tools we have now, like self-guided apps, they struggle. Really low engagement. What was the figure? Median retention of like 3.9% after 15 days.
Wow, that's low. Which brings us to that Coco controversy.
Yeah, yes, Coco. So this was a mental health app, and they briefly integrated GPT-3. That's an earlier large language model.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what happened?
Well, even though they were transparent about it, had disclaimers, and apparently 0 user complaints.
People freaked out online.
Exactly. X.com users, media outlets, immediate condemnation. It was a classic example of problemism in action jumping to the worst conclusions.
Without seeing the potential upside.
Right. And the potential is transformative. AI can empower the actual practitioners. It brings big knowledge, analyzing millions of interactions to find what really works, the evidence-based practices.
You mentioned that LaceSN.io Talkspace study.
Yeah, 2024, it found that therapists just giving information was linked to poorer outcomes. That's counterintuitive, right? You'd only find that by analyzing massive amounts of data.
Okay, so it helps the professionals. What about the users, the patients?
Imagine getting accessible, affordable mental health support whenever you need it, like 247 virtual therapists, maybe a flat monthly fee like Netflix.
That would be huge. And you can maybe try different approaches.
Yeah. Hoffman talks about a therapy mix, test driving different methods, getting personalized, data-driven plans. It flips the model from just treating problems reactively
To proactive wellness, keeping people healthy.
Exactly. And those fears about therapy LLM addiction, Hoffman compares it to worrying about eyeglasses addiction, if it helps you function better.
Is it really addiction?
Yeah.
Good point. But can AI really show empathy? That feels like a stretch.
It's a fair question. But remember that surprising study from JAMA Internal Medicine in April 2023?
The one with Reddit's Ask Docs?
Yeah. Physicians rated ChatGPT's responses as more empathetic than human doctors in nearly 80% of cases.
Wow. Okay, maybe not feeling empathy, but demonstrating emotional attunement.
Something like that. It highlights these unexpected capabilities, and a lot of this potential comes back to data, doesn't it?
It does, but that data piece immediately brings up anxieties, right?
Yeah.
The whole surveillance capitalism idea.
Absolutely. Shoshana Zuboff's critique is powerful, framing companies like Google as big other using our behavioral surplus
Harvested through constant surveillance.
to manipulate us, leaving users as, what was her phrase? Abandoned carcasses. It's a stark picture.
Very stark. But Hoffman pushes back on this.
He offers a counter-narrative. He calls it the triumph of the private commons.
Okay, private commons, what does that mean?
He argues that many of these big tech services, think Google Maps, Wikipedia, YouTube, LinkedIn, they actually create immense value for users, often for free.
Through shared data, like a mutual ecosystem.
Exactly, a mutualistic ecosystem. Individuals contribute data, often passively, but they also get huge benefits back.
And there's data on this consumer surplus, right?
Yeah.
What people would pay.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty wild, like people saying they'd need a median of $48 a month to give up Facebook.
Oh.
Or get this, $17,530 a year to give up search engines.
Wow. That's incredible. And Wikipedia.
A perfect example. Free.
Right.
More articles, comparable quality to a multi-$1,000 encyclopedia set. That's undeniable value creation.
It really is. What about digital photos? That's another one he uses.
Great illustration. In 2000, maybe 80 billion photos taken globally cost about 50 cents each to develop, print.
Yeah, I remember that.
By 2015, 1.6 trillion photos, costing essentially zero.
And it wasn't just cheaper, it changed how we use photos.
Totally.
I mean,
Taking
wow.
a picture of a whiteboard for notes, that wouldn't have made sense before. Now it's second nature.
And YouTube's evolution.
Right. Started as, maybe short attention span fluff.
Cat videos.
Cat videos, exactly. But it's become this vast applied knowledge Wikipedia, how-to videos for everything. Hoffman calls it algorithmic springboarding into education, self-improvement.
Okay, and LinkedIn. That's Hoffman's own company. How's that fit?
He presents it as a distributed trust platform, using real names, public profiles, which was pretty uncommon back then, built trust.
Solve that old internet problem.
Yeah.
Nobody knows you're a dog.
Pretty much. It enabled sharing information, making job connections.
Yeah.
What is it, 7 hires a minute happening now?
So the takeaway on data is,
Yeah.
it's different from physical resources.
Very different. Unlike a pasture that gets overgrazed. The classic tragedy of the commons digital data is non-rivalrous.
Meaning my using it doesn't stop you from using it.
Exactly. In fact, its value often increases the more it's used. Restricting data limits value. Cultivating it, making it useful, maximizes value. Data kind of wants to be useful.
So if data wants to be useful, where is AI taking that next? You mentioned multimodal LLMs.
Right, the next frontier. These are large language models that don't just do text. They natively handle text, audio, images, video, all in real time.
Like OpenAI's GPT-4o.
Exactly. That's a prime example. It's really changing the interaction.
Oh, so faster.
Much faster, yeah. Because it's not translating between modes, it can reply incredibly quickly, as little as 232 milliseconds.
So it feels more like talking to a person.
It feels human-paced, more natural cadence, even emotional intonation sometimes. It's quite striking.
And it can use sensors like a phone camera.
Yeah, it can see. So you could point your phone at something and it offers real-time translation or, I don't know, critiques your golf swing.
Gives fashion advice, helps with plant care,
All of the above. It moves AI from being this sort of disembodied thing.
to being right there in the room with you.
Exactly. Or think about that screenshots feature potentially coming to Google Pixel 9, processing images like text records.
Like giving everyone photographic memory instantly searchable. Wow.
So connecting this back, these advances aren't just cool tech, they're democratizing expertise.
Making high-value services more accessible.
Precisely, to underserved communities. Hoffman pushes back hard against calling AI for education or legal aid just grifts or Band-Aid fixes.
Because they can offer real help.
Real personalized guidance. Imagine an LLM helping with college applications or explaining a complex legal notice like quit premises in your native language.
Or helping deaf individuals with real-time transcription, sign language translation.
Life-changing stuff. And think about the accessibility aspect.
They're always available.
Instantly accessible, infinitely patient. They remember your history. For someone juggling multiple jobs and flexible schedules, low income, that kind of support is invaluable.
Okay, so this rapid progress, it connects to this idea of permissionless innovation.
Absolutely. Hoffman draws parallels to the early internet.
The 90s.
Yeah. Key policy choices back then, like relaxing rules on commercial use of NSFNet, passing Section 230, the framework for global economic commerce.
They created an environment where people could just try things out.
Exactly. Rapid experimentation,
Right.
which led to huge job growth, massive GDP increases.
And he uses the automobile analogy again here, too.
Sure, he does.
Yeah.
Revisits it. Early 20th century cars, despite the dangers, and they were dangerous.
You mentioned the post-WWI accident stats. Grim.
Very grim. But iterative deployment, putting cars out there, combined with evolving rules of the road, better car design, infrastructure.
Led to incredible mobility and eventually much greater safety.
Dramatically safer. That death rate dropped 93% between 1923 and 2023.
So the lesson is, don't demand perfection up front.
Right. This idea of demanding safety beyond a reasonable doubt from new tech. The precautionary principle.
Like San Francisco banning delivery robots.
Exactly. That can actually be more dangerous because it stops learning, it stifles progress. We don't demand perfect performance from humans, right?
Yeah.
We learn, we adapt.
So we should allow AI systems the same kind of iterative improvement cycle.
That's the argument. Experiment, learn, adapt, regulate smartly as we go.
Okay, as this tech gets woven deeper into everything.
Yeah.
What about control? There's that idea. Code is law.
Lawrence Lessig's idea.
Yep.
That the architecture of software itself dictates the rules in cyberspace.
And now that extends to the physical world as it merges with digital.
It seems so. Hoffman uses this DAD scenario as a thought experiment.
Dads do.
Driver alcohol detection system for safety. Imagine it's federally mandated in your new Chevy Equinox EV.
Okay.
And the car simply refuses to start if your blood alcohol is over the limit.
Wow. No choice involved.
None. The device observes, enforces, punishes automatically. Perfect control. And the tech for this exists now. It could be mandatory soon, like 2026.
That's sobering. A clear example of tech assistance becoming enforcement.
It really highlights the boundary. But then on the other side, you have things like dynamic law as code, smart contracts.
Using blockchain, machine learning.
To create adaptive laws that might actually mimic human flexibility, but in code.
How would that work? Give me an example.
Okay. Crop insurance. An AI-powered smart contract could adjust premiums, adjust payouts based on real-time data, soil moisture, weather forecasts.
Then it gets better over time as it learns.
Potentially, yeah. It offers flexibility, could maybe reduce corruption, but
It's always a but.
always. It introduces ambiguity. Who sets the parameters? What if the data is biased? What if the correct decision feels unjust? It demands incredible transparency, constant evaluation.
So finding that balance between freedom and regulation, it's tricky.
It is, and Hoffman uses a really striking analogy here, the Donner Party.
The Donner Party. How does that fit?
Well, their tragic journey illustrates the dangers of essentially unchecked freedom in a world without guardrails, without shared knowledge, infrastructure, safety nets, just individuals against a harsh reality.
Okay, I see the contrast he's setting up. What's the positive example?
The interstate highway system, the IHS.
Right. Massive public works project.
Massive. Initially driven by Cold War defense needs, nuclear evacuation routes.
But it had huge economic impacts, too.
Immense. Through regulation, standardization, just sheer infrastructure, it enabled incredible individual freedom of movement. huge economic growth, $742 billion annual value, he estimates.
And safety. It made driving safer.
Dramatically safer, and it knit the country together. Hoffman calls it networked autonomy.
Networked autonomy. I like that. Freedom enabled by the network, by the rules.
Exactly. Which brings us to governance in the AI era.
Like sovereign AI, Jensen Huang's idea.
Yeah, NVIDIA's CEO calling for countries to own their AI infrastructure, to cultivate their own data, reflect their own culture, protect their national interests.
Makes sense geopolitically. But how do citizens fit into governing this complex stuff?
Well, that's where some interesting tools come in. Things like Polis or Remesh.
What do?
They allow for large-scale public participation, but anonymously. Used by the UN, used in Taiwan, they help find consensus on complex policy issues.
There's a way for governments to actually listen at scale, not just monitor.
Exactly. Moving beyond that Orwellian telescreen where the watching is only one way, this enables genuine collective decision-making.
Is there a place that's doing this well?
South Korea is often cited. Their AI used during the pandemic, developing tests super fast, tracking cases.
People accept it. Usually there's pushback on that kind of tracking.
There can be, but apparently it was accepted there largely because of radically transparent data sharing combined with really strong legal safeguards.
So building trust was key.
Absolutely. It shows how networked autonomy, when built on trust and transparency, can lead to compliance and sort of shared purpose.
Yeah.
Hashtag, outro.
Okay, wow. We covered a lot of ground there. Let's try to bring it together a bit.
Yeah, it's clear AI, like the big technologies before it, brings both huge challenges and immense opportunities.
And the key, according to Hoffman, isn't fear or blind optimism, but this iterative approach.
Right. Iterative deployment, really trying to adopt that what could possibly go right mindset.
Instead of just focusing on the problem.
Exactly. And leveraging shared data to create big knowledge that hopefully enhances our agency.
But it's not going to be a perfectly smooth ride, is it?
Definitely not. Hoffman acknowledges that. There will be potholes, detours, and bad actors. That's inevitable.
But history suggests we can navigate this.
History suggests that continuous experimentation, learning, adapting, combined with thoughtful rules and democratic oversight, that's how we tend to steer these powerful new things towards, broadly good outcomes. Eventually.
Okay, so we've heard how AI could be like a personal GPS for life, right? Helping navigate mental health, learn new skills, this promise of superagency.
Newfound superpowers for potentially billions of people.
Right. But here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
In a world where these digital tools are constantly offering to simplify things, personalize everything, even automate our decisions, when does that incredible efficiency start to blur the line?
Blur the line between enabling our choices
and subtly shaping them for us. As we get all this amazing access to knowledge, personalized help, what does it really mean to stay a self-determining human?
How much agency do we actually want to hand
Contact
over?
Chris Lehnes
Even
of
if it
Versant
makes life
Funding
easier.
to learn if factoring can
What are the
provide
hidden
your
costs,
business the
maybe,
cash
of
you
making
need
life
to
too
expand.
easy, too legible, too optimized?